Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is currently 1:39 a.m. on this very hot summer night in Indianapolis, Indiana. Cruising altitude is 34, 35, 30, 35 miles per hour. Oh no, 30 miles per hour. And it is 77 degrees outside. It feels like it's like 87 degrees outside. It is so hot. I was watching Independence Day, and then I took the dogs outside, and I was just like sitting out there for a second, and then I was looking at my plants, and I was like, oh, I need to water my plants. So I watered my plants, and then I sat down in the chair, and I was like, it is so hot out here tonight. We've had some muggy nights this summer, but we really haven't had like hot nights. When I was growing up as a kid, I actually brought 2 Diet Cokes with me tonight. Here's one, and the other one is over here behind my bag so that I can have that when I'm done vlogging to listen to my audiobook that I am not loving. But when I was growing up as a kid, I feel like the summers were so incredibly hot. Especially July and August. August gets really, really hot in Indiana. And I have a feeling that this year it's gonna be like that. I have a feeling this August is gonna be really hot. But we haven't had super hot summers the last couple years. We also really haven't had really cold, snowy winters the last couple years either. It's been pretty mild. So, hi, how are you? What did I do today? Let's see. Well, it feels like a Friday. It doesn't feel like a Saturday. My husband is currently out right now, at this show to see this DJ Shiba-san. I've never heard of this DJ. But anyway, he was really excited about it. He went with a couple of his friends, and then Jason, Melissa's husband, met him out. And so he had work stuff he had to do today. And then afterwards, he went and hung out with some friends and had like an early dinner. And then he came home and we napped together. And I had filmed a bunch of videos. I filmed today, let's see, well, I uploaded my vlog, and then I filmed a Peterisms video. I did this like in backwards order though. And then I did a review video of insomnia cookies from last night, from the insomnia cookies that I brought home. And then I did a video for Peter Does Stuff where I scratched off lottery tickets, and I won $111. I couldn't even believe it. I could not believe I won $100 on this ticket. Like, I never like win money on scratch off tickets, like ever. And they were a gift. Melissa gave me some, and then another, those motorcycles, and then another, or crotch rockets or whatever you call them, and then another friend had given me some as well for my birthday. So, yeah, that was really cool. And then, let's see, filmed that, and then I filmed a booktube video announcing the August books. So our August book for a true crime book club is called Couple Found Slain. And it's actually, I was reading this article about it, like afterwards while I saw the picture of the author. And there was like tons of research that went into this book. And hold on a second, this beanbag is like, okay, there, it's better. It was like, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like in front of the camera. Anyway, this author is like really well known for doing like sociological research. And so she like researched what happened after he was convicted, the murderer. And or I don't know if he was convicted of murder, but I haven't read the book yet. But he was found he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. So he goes into this like psychiatric facility, and so it's like he worked with her and telling her the background story of like everything that happens in the psychiatric facility, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. I had read a list of books in the live stream for a true crime book club, the last two live streams ago that we had, and I read like a list of books that came out, like new true crime books in 2021. And asked people what they wanted to read, and this was the #1 pick. But we couldn't read this before August because it just came out in July. So this is our August book. And then the August book for Peter's book club is called Falling, and it's about a pilot whose family has been kidnapped right before the plane took off, and these people tell him that he has to crash the plane or his family will die. It's on the bestseller list right now, and it was actually written by this woman that was a flight attendant for Virgin Airlines, and it's getting really, really good reviews. I was actually like on my video today where I announced it, I was reading like all of the back cover, back flap, or whatever you want to call it, quotes from authors, and there was like Janet Ivanovich, James Patterson, there was like all of these like famous authors had like the guy that wrote The Chain, that book that I loved a couple years ago, he made a comment about it as well. So it's hard to get those like cover statement comments about a book. So it's interesting to me that there was like, maybe, you know, if it was just like one or something, then I'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But there was literally like 6 or 7 like really well-known authors that had commented on this book. And somebody said, Don Winslow, I think is his, I don't know who that is. That's the one author I didn't know. Said that it's like Jaws at 35,000 feet. So, and everybody's saying it's like the perfect summer read. It like came out and debuted, and then like 2 weeks later it was on the New York Times bestseller list. So that's the book that I picked for Peter's book club for the month of August. It's available anywhere. I actually ordered it on Amazon because I needed to go and get it, and I didn't want to go to Barnes & Noble because I would end up spending a bunch of money and get a bunch of ideas for, like, I always go in there and then like when I'm walking around I read the books. I typically buy my books at Half Price Books because I just like it better, and it's a used bookstore. But I'll go around at Barnes & Noble, and if there's like you can scan on the Goodreads app, and it'll put like a book right into your want to read from like the scan on the back of it. What is going on over there? But I'll go around and take pictures of books that I read, like the back, you know, or like the synopsis of it, the front cover that look good, and then I will buy it on Audible and listen to it. So I was like, okay, I don't want to go into Barnes & Noble because I'll end up, the last time I did it, I ended up buying like 4 books on Audible afterwards. So I knew that was the book I wanted to do because I wanted to pick something straight off of the New York Times bestseller list. So it was that, between that and The Paper Palace, and so I just ordered it on Amazon, and it came in one day too. Isn't that weird? Like, I ordered it like late in the afternoon and it was here the very next day. So I made all those videos. I did not make a drama video today. There really is not like a bunch going on. Like, there's not a bunch of drama stuff going on. And whereas I like to make lighthearted drama videos, there's not even really like lighthearted drama stuff going. I mean, there's a couple things that I could do. So I have one idea for a video that I might make tomorrow. It just depends on how I feel after brunch. If it's nice, I might go to the pool, but it looks cloudy outside right now, so we'll see. I know tonight, when I finish my vlog, I'm gonna listen to this audiobook and try to get it done tonight, because so I was gonna read Leanne Moyerity's 9 Perfect Strangers. I think I talked about this last night, but Tanya didn't love it. I'm still gonna listen to it, but it's coming out as a series on HBO. I still haven't watched the second season of Big Little Lies. That's one of the things I need to watch. But anyway, so, oh, you know, the other book I need to listen to is The Virgin Rivers, because I heard that show is fantastic, and I want to read the book. I think the first book is, does anybody know? If you know, let me know in the comment section below, because I'm going to read this in the month of August. But I bought the first book for Virgin Rivers because somebody told me, it was like, not like through YouTube, so like somebody in my real life was like, or my personal life was like, oh my God, have you read The Virgin Rivers? Like, it's a really good series. If you like they didn't, I was explaining to them what cozy mysteries were, and they were like, well, I don't know that it's a cozy mystery, but I think that you would really like, it's not a mystery, it's just like, I think you would really like the series if you like these cozy mysteries. So I was like, okay. So I got on Audible and I looked at the first book, and it looks really good. But what I need to know is, how many of the books does this series follow? Because I don't, okay, if I'm going to start a series, I'm going to want to read the series. I don't want to, like, and then once, like with Dexter, I know that past the first book, the rest of it is pretty much made up. So I already read the first book of Dexter so I could watch the show. Does that make sense? But if Virgin River, like, follows, like, the whole book series, then, I don't know that I want to read them. Because I'm getting ready, actually. The other thing was, I think it might have been free on Audible. It might have been in the included. I'm going to read the Aurora Tea Garden Mysteries by Charlaine Harris. I don't know if they're necessarily considered cozy mysteries, but they're really short. And Charlaine Harris is who wrote the Sookie Stackhouse novels that ended up becoming True Blood. And we actually interviewed her for our website years ago. And she was such a cool person to interview, and she had like a house behind her house, like she had like a little, like, you know, little, what do you call it, shed in the back, or like chicken coop or something, and it was like her writing office. And so she would get up in the morning and she would make her kids like breakfast and whatever, and then send them off to school, and then she would go back there, and like she was clocking in for work, and then she would write until like 11 or 12. And then she would have lunch, and then she would go back and she would write until like her kids came home from school and stuff like that, and then she'd make them dinner and do the homework and whatever. And for her, it was like, that's like how she wrote, which I think is so phenomenal, because I love to hear, it's hard when you do anything that you consider creative. So like, I'm just gonna throw YouTube in there. Probably a lot of people don't consider that creative, but I'm gonna throw that in there. It's hard when you, like, what you do is like, you make your own hours kind of thing, because unless you're completely dedicated, it's really hard to like get a lot of stuff done. And like for me, I make lists, and so when I get up in the morning, I kind of like check where my feet are, so to speak. Like, where are your feet in today? I kind of like check to see what like my mood for the day is, right? And if I feel like I need to like get away from the house and kind of clear my head at first, then I go get a coffee. That's why I sometimes do a review first, things like that. But like today, I didn't even go get a coffee. I just like filmed all of the videos and was at the house until Alex came home. I didn't even leave until Alex came home. And that was because I had to go run one errand, and I talked to Mel on the way while I was doing that. So, and today I just was like very like, I want to get these done. These are the videos that I want to make, blah, 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 whatever, and had a list of things. So when I hear like writers and things like that, and painters or any kind of artist say that they work for so many hours and then they go, it's just like, it's I think it was Toni Morrison who, she worked in publishing. I think it was she worked in publishing, and then she would come home and feed her kids and get them ready for bed, and then she would write until like 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's how she wrote her first novel. It's always interesting to me to hear people like how they work, like what's their schedule kind of thing, you know? I honestly wish, like, I love having a small condo. Our condo is real small, so it's perfect size for Alex and I and the dogs. But I sometimes wish I had like a room with a door that I could close, that I could like, that could just be where like I filmed, and Like when we redo the basement, one of the things that we've talked about is like me having like a corner where I could even have like a different setup. Because I was thinking about this today with like an idea that I had for like putting behind my drama videos, and then I've had that idea with like review videos too, or whatever, where I'd have like a little setup of how that would look. But you know, for right now, it's like, it's perfect how it is. And I walk 10 feet over from my chair, and then I'm at the desk where I put everything up on the videos and stuff like that. And the only thing, like, it's hard to be at home is because I get very distracted by disorganization. So, like, in the mornings, what I typically do is get up, and if I do my prayers and meditations and gratitude lists and all that stuff, I do that first and let the dogs out and make a cup of coffee or have a glass of water, typically a cup of coffee, and then I'll sit there and do my meditations and whatever, and then I come in, and then I'm like, okay, make the bed, you know, brush my teeth, wash my face, get kind of dressed for, you know, what I'll usually have a couple changes of t-shirts for videos, and then I go downstairs and I'm like, clean it, like then the dogs have brought out all the toys, and I clean up the kitchen, so the kitchen is organized. I try to organize my desk area and stuff like that, because I kind of have to have really clean surfaces and areas and organization before I can kind of like get stuff done that I want to get done. Then I just sit down and I start filming. But anyway, I've been wanting to read those Aurora Teagarden mysteries. I wanted to read a lot of her stuff other than just the Sookie Stackhouse novels. I don't really have any desire to read those because I watched the entire True Blood series. Mel started them. She likes them. But she's got a lot of other series too. So I want to read those. And then I also want to finish a Diana Rowland series, My Life as a White Trash Zombie. I haven't finished those, and I would like to, I was talking to Mel today about Rhiannon Frater that wrote the As the World Dies series about the zombies, and I would like to read some of her other series, I think. She's got some series about like vampires and stuff, which I've never really read a series, like a vampire series, so, well, I mean, back in the day, I like tried to read those Anne Rice books. She was not my thing. Anne Rice, I know people like love her and swear by her. She just wasn't my thing. She's very, very good writer, but she just is not, I just wasn't interested in it. When I was like in late, it wasn't even, I don't even feel like late high school. I feel like it was like in early college. People like loved those books, like Interview with a Vampire and The Vampire Lestat and stuff. And everywhere that you would, like, we would go to, like, Perkins and Denny's and stuff like that, we'd meet these people. That was high school, too, I guess. We would meet people that, like, you know, dressed all in black and smoked one cigarette after another, clove cigarettes, and they'd always have a notebook, and they'd be writing in it, sitting by themselves drinking coffee, and we would, like, talk to them. We'd be like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, I'm writing a vampire novel. They would always say they were a vampire. We're like, oh, okay. I met so many vampires back in the day. But anyway, I don't know that they ever really were vampires, but I don't know. I didn't get to know them that well, but but I did read some of Christopher Rice's books, her son, and I love, like, The Snow Garden, and there was another one of his that I read, and I actually bought one of his on Audible not too long ago, because he's not writing as much as he used to, but I wanted to see if I still really liked his books, because his books back in the day, I loved them. They actually reminded me of Donna Tartt's books a little bit, which I haven't read The Goldfinch, but I did read The Secret History. His books reminded me a little bit of The Secret History. I was reading this list the other day. I always look up lists of stuff, and I was reading this list of, like, books that you have to read, or, like, books that, like, profoundly... And maybe it was on Audible, and it was like the top 10 ever Audible listens or whatever, and The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt was on there, which is interesting because before I read The Secret History, and I didn't listen to it, I read it back in the day, before I read it, so many people told me to read it. They were like, oh my god, The Secret History by Donna Tartt is so good. And I can remember reading it, and I just was not that powerfully moved by it. I just didn't think it was like the greatest book in the entire world. It wasn't bad. I don't remember really anything about it right now, to be honest with you, but so yeah, there's a bunch of books that I want to read. You know what is so funny is when I was growing up, my Uncle Dave and Aunt Kathy, and Caroline too, when she was like in high school and stuff, always used these like, Caroline had a bunch of these cups, short ones, tall ones, everything. But my Aunt Kathy and Uncle Dave always used these, what do you call it, insulated cups. And they would always have them in their car. And they would say like country club names on them and stuff like that. And my aunt and uncle didn't belong to a country club, but they would always like people would give them the cups, you know, and stuff. So they would have, you know, or tennis things on from tennis championships here in Indianapolis and whatever. But they'd always have these insulated cups. And like, my Aunt Kathy and Uncle Dave always drank like Diet Coke in the car. My Uncle Dave and Aunt Kathy were so fanatical about their cars being clean. I think to some degree, I might get that from my Uncle Dave. It's like two things that I definitely got from my Uncle Dave were, one, I love you, Uncle Dave. One was that, well, I got it from being at my aunt and uncle's on my dad's side in Fort Wayne in the summers when I would sleep with a fan because they didn't have central air. But then my Uncle Dave always slept with a fan. And he would take like a nap in the middle of the, and I got my naps from him too. He would like, we would be like over at their house doing something and just like, I'd be like, where's Uncle Dave? And everybody would be like, oh, he went and took a nap. Just like, I mean, there could be 20 people over there and he'd go take a nap. He did not care. He did not care. My Uncle Dave was somebody that, and not rude, he wasn't rude about it, but he did what he wanted to do. And, but was also one of the most giving people that I had met in my entire life. Would be there and do anything for anybody that needed it. But every week, he vacuumed. He had like one of those shop vacuum things, you know, in his garage, with like a hose and stuff. And he would do it all in the garage because like they had like a drain in their garage. And he would vacuum out his car and he would wash his car and take out the mats and hose them down. And I mean, he cleaned out his inside of his car. And his car was never dirty. It was never dirty. And my aunt's car was the exact same way. They always drove sedans. My aunt, towards the end of her life, drove a little four-door Cadillac sedan. It was really a nice car. And my uncle usually drove, well, not, I mean, just like nice little sedans and stuff like that. But they were always spotless and clean. So funny when I think back on that. Their house was always super clean too. My Aunt Kathy is somebody that reminds me of the same kind of like, well, my mom's house was never dirty either. It was always very organized. I wouldn't even say, like, I have more like piles of books and things like that than either my mom or my aunt had. But they were very organized, but had like certain areas, like my aunt's desk in the kitchen was always like, had papers and notes and stuff on it and whatever. But she also had a full office in her house. So, I think back about my mom, that's so weird, like, my mom wasn't like super clean freak or anything, but like the house was always really clean. And like the kitchen was always, like the kitchen table was always cleaned off and had, you know, table settings, like a, you know, placemats on it. And then like the island was always clean. And then all the appliances on the counters were like in order and everything was cleaned off. And like she had her little desk in the kitchen too. And that was the only area that kind of had stuff on it. But like even in my mom's bedroom, her bedroom was like spotless. And she had a chair and an auto. So my mom, when you walked in her bedroom, there was a door, or there was a table right by the door. And it had like the phone on it and stuff like that. And she kept kind of like a stack of books on there. Where am I at on time? And then, and it was like a table, it was like a wood table. And then it had like this, she had like, it was like a, I don't know how to explain it. It was like a table cover that matched the drapes and the wallpaper. It was like these little yellow flowers. And then there was glass on top of the cover. So it was like a glass, like wooden, I don't know how to explain it other than that. But anyway, So, then she had a phone on it, and then her bed was up against the window. It was like this nook. So I've talked about this on here before, but like my parents built the house that I grew up in, and they based it on a couple different houses that they had seen, and they wanted it to look like a French farmhouse that was like, had been built in like the English Cotswolds. And so like a lot of our house was like little like nooks and crannies and window seats and stuff like that. And my mom's bedroom was really cool. It had like these window things that were like this, and so you walked into it, like into the window area, and there was 2 of them. And then to the right, to the very back of the room, there was like a crank out window, and there was like an area that had been like built to put the bed, like the bed, like she had this big king size bed, and it sat like in the corner in there. And then to the right when you walked in, then there was like a chair with an ottoman. I actually still have the chair and the ottoman in the basement. And it faced a little table where she had her TV on, and then she could turn her TV towards the bed, or she could turn it towards the chair. And then my mom had a table next to the chair, and then she had a dresser in the corner by the window. And then she had like, you know, you would go into the bathroom, and there were 2 sinks, and then there was like a walk-in closet right off the 2 sinks. And then if you kept on going in the bathroom, there was a bathtub, a huge linen closet, and then a shower and the toilet were at the other end. She had a big bathroom. And but anyway, like her chair that she would sit in, and she would watch movies and the news and whatever, is where she would sit, and she would smoke and drink and stuff. And she always had tons of notes like stuck in the chair, like in the sides of the chair. She had notes, like she would write down these little notes. And underneath the chair, she had like her Bible, and she had books and stuff like that with notes constantly. My mom was a note writer. She constantly had notes. And I mean, just, I find notes to this day, just like in random books and random notebooks and random this and random that. I'll find all these little notes, and I can't even make sense of them sometimes, because like the note will say like, sometimes the notes will be like a quote for somebody, maybe something that she heard on a TV show. Sometimes the notes are like things to remind herself. It would say like Tuesday apples, which like makes no sense, you know, to her it probably did. Or it'll say something like, tell Peter, blah, 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 whatever. There's a lot of those kind of notes to remind me of stuff that she wanted to tell me. It was funny because, like, since I cleaned out the kitchen, it's just so nice. It's just, it was never messy, but there was just a lot on the counters. And since I, like, got rid of all of it and put it away and have it organized, and now my Starbucks cups are all in that area. Like, I pulled out a straw the other day, and Alex goes, look at you, you even have your straws organized. I was like, I know. It feels so good. Like, every day I reach down there and get a cup. I just need to get the rest of the kitchen done, and then the basement. Like, and I mean, I know I've been talking about this forever and a day, but it's like, when I'm sitting there and I'm wanting to film videos and I'm wanting to listen to audiobooks, the last thing I want to do is spend 2 hours down in the basement. Because that's not something that's going to be like just an hour, you know? But one of these days, one of these weeks, we'll get it done. Oh man, it's supposed to be nice this week. It's supposed to be like, I think on Tuesday, it's supposed to be like 91. I mean, that's not nice, that's hot. But if it is 91, even if it is kind of cloudy, unless it's raining, unless it's not gray outside, I'm going to one pool or the other. If I go to the pool in my neighborhood and it's packed with kids like it was the other day and families and stuff, then I'm gonna just hightail it to my other pool and I'm going to the pool. Because it's supposed to be like 89, 88, 91. It's supposed to be really nice this week, like temperature wise. And I want to spend some days at the pool. You know that day that I got up and I went to, I mean, when I say this, you guys will be like, yeah, Peter, of course. You're just learning this now. But that day that I got up and I went to the pool with Tanya, like, I had done so much stuff the day before to prepare for it. Like, I had pre-filmed videos and stuff. But I got up that day and I got, like, so many errands done that I could have had those errands. I could have spent that time filming videos if I hadn't filmed videos, if that makes sense. So, like, in the future, you know? That, like, if I got up, even by 10 o'clock, and spent 2 hours, like, filming videos, it stopped. I could be at the pool, you know, by noon, and then stay till 4, and then come home and maybe film one more video. Part of the problem is that with, like, the drama stuff, typically, like, to make a drama video, it kind of, drama unfolds over the course of the day. Like, when I get up, there's not, like, tons of stuff that's happened right away, you know what I mean? So usually it's not till, like, 2 or 3, I mean, unless there's a lot of stuff going on, but, like, right now there's really, like, nothing going on. So when there's a lot of stuff going on, then it's like I could film videos all night long, you know? But that's just not the case right now. So, we'll see. I'm excited about this next week of going to the pool and stuff like that, and oh yeah, so oh yeah, oh yeah. I can't believe it's almost August, and we go to Vegas for our anniversary, and then Alex is going to Chicago for Labor Day weekend, I think, because, well, I know he is, but I think it's Labor Day weekend, for some music festival that he's going to. And then I was maybe gonna visit Mel that weekend, but we'll have to see. Mel and I were kind of talking about that today. I need to kind of look at dates and stuff and see what will work. If I do that, then I have to board the dogs that weekend. And I might prefer to go and visit Mel on a weekend that Alex can just stay home with the dogs. But they like being boarded every once in a while, so. I mean, they have fun. They run around. They're in the day camp there and stuff like that. And then we're going to Las Vegas for Jason's birthday in September. And then I told Alex the other day, I think it was, when was it that I said it to him? It was when we went out to dinner. Well, that was last night. That I really had a good time when we rented the house in Florida in October. And I would really like to rent another place, like another house. I mean, I'm not opposed to doing a condo too, but I really had fun with just like a house where we got groceries and we watched shows, and it was like super relaxing for like, even if we just did it for like 5 days, like that was so nice. I loved that. And, you know, October in Florida is still nice. So Alex was like, well, I'm totally down to do that. So I would like to do that in October. We haven't really put any thought into that yet, but I would really like to do that. And that's it. We were talking with Melissa Jason about possibly doing something for New Year's, and Melissa said something about a bunch of people are going to Las Vegas for New Year's. Here's the thing, okay? If we go to Las Vegas for New Year's, Alex is going to want to go to some club that's going to cost us $200 or $400 a night to get into. And I don't really care about spending New Year's in a club. I really don't want to stay here and go to one of these parties like we've done like 10 years in a row. So I don't know what I want to do for New Year's. Alex will want to do something. I wouldn't be opposed to going to Miami for New Year's, honestly. That might be kind of fun. I'm just not like a big New Year's person, obviously, because I don't drink, you know, so it's just not that big of a deal for me. Some fun things planned, and then next year well, if Ultra is back, which I'm assuming it will be, that'll be March. And then next year we're celebrating my birthday, since we celebrated Alex's birthday this year, and my birthday is my 50th next year. And I want to go somewhere for my 50th next year. I want to go to, I think I want to go somewhere in the Caribbean. I think I want to go to like Turks and Caicos or St. Bart's or Anguilla. I think I really kind of want to go to Turks and Caicos. We talked to Melissa and Jason about going there and getting a house. We had always kind of talked in the past about like going somewhere like crazy, like Thailand or Fiji or the Maldives or something like that. But I don't know, like for my birthday, I don't want to spend an entire day and a half flying. Like I want to go, I mean, to be honest with you, for my birthday, I would be completely fine just going to Mexico. But since it's my 50th, I feel like, I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's like so crazy to say that I'm going to be 50. Like, I don't even, like, get weird about it. But anyway, I was going to say, being that it's my 50th, I feel like I should do something that's a little bit, like, someplace I've always wanted to go, you know? I mean, I'd be happy to go anywhere, honestly. But, you know, it's crazy saying that I'm going to be 50. It's like, I don't have really any problems, like, with the number. It just seems weird to me. You know, I think the other thing is, like, in my life, I've been with somebody for like 5 or 6 years, and then the relationship's been over 5 or 6 years. So they've been like, each relationship has been an era of my life that was like 5 or 6 years. And Alex and I are gonna have been together 13 years next month. And, you know, when I met Alex, I was in my 30s, and I'm gonna be in my 50s, you know, next year. It's just crazy. And, I'm very proud of us and our relationship, you know. I think the thing that's hard for me is that, like, getting closer to the age that my mom was when she passed, getting closer to the age that my mom was when she got sober, which was 51, you know, getting closer to the age that my grandma was when she passed, she was 67, you know, it's like, I'm not going to be 60 tomorrow, and I don't even consider 60 old. Like, I mean, I have several people that are really important to me in my life that are over 60 and are close friends of mine, and I don't consider them old by any means. But at the same time, it's like, I don't feel 60, you know? But I always say, I think like the thing that's hard for me is not so much the number. I don't really care about that. I don't care about the white hair. I don't care about the wrinkles. I do care about not being able to keep up and do things that I used to be able to do, but in all honesty, that has less to do with my age and more to do with my health, because I'm just not in good health because I eat like crap, and I'm heavy as hell, and like, that's just the reality. And so, the thing that's hardest for me is, I think, realizing that I'm running out of time to do the things I want to do in my life. And there's so much that I want to do, you know? But at the same time, I feel like I've done so much that I wanted to do. Like I said that one night on here, I don't really have a bucket list of things that I want to do. Like I said, like, you know, there's a couple places that I would love to go, and if I went there for my 50th birthday, I think that that would be really cool, because there's places, like, I've always wanted to go to Turks and Caicos, and I just really haven't been willing to spend the extra money to go there. You know, I've always wanted to go to, like, Anguilla and places like that, but I just wasn't willing to spend the money to go there. But, like, at the same time, like, we have just as amazing of a time in Mexico or something than, you know, or Miami or whatever. Oh, I do think this fall, though, I am doing a sober trip. Tanya and I and our sponsor and our friend, I think the 4 of us are going to go to Gatlinburg. Well, we said Gatlinburg, and then Tanya said, well, what about Miami? And we go stay in that place that you guys stayed the last time at the one hotel. And I said, well, we could do that, too. But the whole thing started because, like, I haven't been to Gatlinburg in forever, and I really, really want to go to Gatlinburg. So I think that we are going to look at doing that just for, like, a long weekend, maybe. Which would be really fun. It's so funny because, like, hanging out with, like, my sober friends, like, just because we got sober didn't mean that we overnight, like, became, you know, like, we didn't have fun anymore. When we always stay up super late and we talk and we laugh and whatever, you know, it's like the other night at Tanya's house, we sat on her patio forever, you know. And in the past, when we used to take these trips to Lake Norris, Tennessee, and there would be a bunch of us that would go. Oh my God, it was so much fun. And we would go out on the boat every day. And the last time that we went as a group, Alex went with us. So that would have been 13 years ago, the first summer that, no, it couldn't have been. I bet it was. I bet it was. The first summer that we were together. So yeah, it's crazy to think that that was so long ago. But we would, like, make dinners and, you know, we would all bring food down there and stuff. It was so much fun. And we'd always, like, rent this well, Tanya's cousin had a cabin on Lake Norris, Tennessee that was gorgeous. It was amazing. And it, like, it was like 5 bedrooms, and it had a downstairs that, like, went out onto the yard, and then it had a balcony where we would all sit and drink coffee and stay up late at night, like drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes and telling stories and stuff, you know, like all night long. And then it had this huge living room that we would, like, do dance things in. We would, like, we choreograph dances and stuff, you know. And then it had this long, what do you call it, steep staircase down to the boat dock. And we would go out on the boat. Like, well, my old sponsor, he would bring his boat, and then Tanya would bring her boat. And so we would have 2 boats down there. And then Tanya had she has 2 jet skis too, so she would bring her jet ski. She has different jet skis now, but she would bring her jet skis down there too. And we were joking about that the other day because there was this girl that dated one of our friends. And she worked for Tanya for a while. And every day, her butt was on those jet skis. And she would just, like, I would, like, be sitting out there, like, on the dock, like, waiting for them, you know, the boats and stuff. And just sitting in a chair waiting. And she would just, like, drive by like this. And she'd, like, wave at us and stuff. And every day I'd be like, you think she'd like to ask somebody if we wanted to get on those jet skis besides her? Like, I have never been on a jet ski in my life, right? And so I kept on saying stuff to Tanya. And Tanya told her, she said, like, you know, you should ask Peter if he wants to go on the jet skis sometimes too. Which they were Tanya's jet skis. I don't know why I had to ask this gal if I wanted to go on them. Never once did she ever, every day she was on those jet skis. I never got, she and her girlfriend, I never got to go on those jet skis. Not one time, right? That was like the first year that Tanya bought the jet skis. Okay, so that, and I just thought, well, next summer I'll be on the jet skis or something, right? So I was so bitter, and so, like, and she was always, like, she had her hair all slicked back, and she was like, and so to this day, like, Tanya's always like, do that thing that she did when she was on the jet skis. She just made me do this the other night. And I'm like, she thought she was so cool. I was so mad. To this day, I have never been on a jet ski. I'm kind of scared of it, honestly, you know, because of sharks. But when I tell people that, they're like, there are no sharks in Lake Norris, Tennessee. I'm like, I totally understand that, but that's not the idea, right? The idea is, like, when I look in the water, like, I can't see in the water, so I don't know what is there, right? And so my mind associates with sharks. But I will tell you what's interesting about that trip was, I don't know what it was, we all got there, and we had been, like, going and going and going, and I just ran down, and yeah, it would have been, because the year before was when I got stuck on the interstate. I'll tell you guys that story in a second. So that would have been right before I met Alex. And then it was like the first week of August. And then the following year was when Alex and I went down there. So it would have been our first year together, yeah. What was I saying? Now I totally lost my train of thought. But anyway, that year we all got there and it was so hot when we got there, and we just like dumped our bags inside and put the groceries in the fridge and stuff like that. And then we like all ran down the stairs and just like one after another, we just like jumped in the lake with our clothes on. It was so much fun. And that was so funny because, oh, okay, I totally forgot about this, because we had like a smoker's and a non-smoker's car driving down there. And so I think I drove down there, and so it was like myself and Tanya and like two of our friends, and then there was like, we had like a caravan, there was like 4 cars. And so Tanya's husband Eric and Alex like drove down there, just the 2 of them together. And it was so funny because we would pull up next to them and they would be like just like talking nonstop to each other. And then we would pull up next to them and they would both like not be saying anything. So anyway, the first year though that we were going, not the first year, the year before that, I hadn't planned on going. I can't remember why. I had something going on and I think I was supposed to go to Denver that week. And so it was like the 2 nights before. No, it was like the night before, because I had nothing to do. Like I had like no work, I had nothing to do, and I had canceled my trip to go to Denver. I can't remember why. I ended up going like 2 weeks later because I went and then I got back, and that's when Alex and I went on our date, which would have been the 3rd week in August. So I would have gone the week before that. So this would have been the last week of July or the 1st week of August, and I was supposed to go to Denver, I think, and I canceled my trip for some reason. I can't remember why. I think maybe my friend was going to be out of town or something, so that's why I canceled it to go visit him, because I was visiting him a lot. Because I kind of planned that I was going to move to Denver. And so I was sitting, I had gone to like Walmart or something with Tanya to help her like get all the food and stuff for the trip. And she was like, why don't you just come down? We have a room. And I was like, no, like you guys already have your plans and whatever. And she's like, you come on this trip every year. Why don't you just come down? And I was like, well, I think I did have to work actually the next day, and then I was supposed to fly out. And I was like, well, I have to work tomorrow anyway, so I can't. She goes, well, just come down afterwards. And I was like, no, blah, 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 whatever. And she was like, Peter, you're just going to sit here. You're not going to have anything to do. Nobody's going to be home, you know, whatever. You're single, you're alone. Just come down. So I was like, all right, so I will. So I ended up, the next day I left Indianapolis. So Lake Norris, Tennessee is about a 7-hour drive from here. So 6 or 7. So I left Indianapolis 6 or 7 in the afternoon, and I was in the middle of Tennessee, and I was like out in the middle of nowhere, and it was like 3-lane interstate that way, you know, this way, 3-lane interstate coming back, and it was just like rolling hills of Tennessee. And I came at the top of this hill, and there was just stopped traffic, and it was like 11:30 at night, and it was pitch black, and we were out in the middle of nowhere, okay? And I didn't see it at first because like everybody had their lights turned off, so you just saw like a bunch of brake lights. And I looked, and it just went on for miles and miles. Like, I was like, we are here forever. And so I just kind of pulled over, and I was like sitting there in my car, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. Like, I called Tanya, and I said, hey, listen, I'm in construction. It doesn't look like, you know, it could be like 3 o'clock in the morning before I get there. And she was like, I'll stay up for you. Don't worry about it. And I was like, okay. So, I ended up like, at some point, everybody just turned off their cars at some point. And so we were all getting out of our cars and just kind of like hanging out on the side of the road. I mean, it was literally just like fields for miles. Like, that's all it was. It was like, and you were like at the top of this kind of peak looking down. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And it was like not a full moon, but like it was like the moon was bright and stuff. And so this guy and I were talking to these 3 kids. They were probably like 18, 19, something like that. It was like 2 girls and a guy, and they were so funny, and they had just come from the state fair in Ohio. And so I was like, well, why did you go? We ended up talking for like 4 of us for the 5 of us for like an hour. And they're like, yeah, we went to the state fair in Tennessee, and she met this, and he was like, the kid was like, I think it was his sister, and he was like teasing her, and he was like, I can't really remember now, but he was like, yeah, she met this guy that works for the carnival, and she's like, he is so fine. And she was like, so he was like, so we drove to Ohio, because once he left the Tennessee State Fair, they were going to the Ohio State Fair. So we went to the Ohio State Fair so that she could like see him again, and stuff like that. And she just kept on going, oh my God, he's so fine, he's so hot. And they were laughing and telling us all these stories about these dudes they met at the state fair, and how much fun they had, and all the food they had at the Ohio State Fair, and that they were going to be in trouble because they were supposed to be home like so many hours before. And anyway, it was funny. And then all of a sudden the car started moving, and it was time for us to go again. And I got down into Tennessee. I got lost like on the country roads, because the cabin that we used to stay in, Tanya's cousin's cabin, it was like out in the middle of nowhere, like literally country roads, you know, for miles. You couldn't. Beautiful though, beautiful down there. So much fun. I remember one summer when I was a kid, I was probably 6th grade, 5th or 6th grade. My dad and I and my stepmom went to go, so my dad's best friend growing up, we went to go, my dad's best friend growing up, his dad was like the pastor over the church that my dad went to. So my dad was best friends with the pastor's kid, who also baptized me. And so my dad has like stayed in touch with them like his entire life. And it's interesting because he's an attorney and my dad's a doctor. Isn't that funny? And so anyway, but they have a lake house, or they had a lake house somewhere like in Clearwater, Indiana or something like that. And I remember we went there one summer, and I've always wanted to get a house like this again and rent it for the summer, just for like a week. It was just like this little small cute house on the water, and then they had this long like backyard and this long deck, and the water was literally crystal clear, like crystal clear. And I remember we fished for sunfish out there, and it was real shallow, and I just remember like thinking that it was so pretty out there. We played cards at night, and it just was so much fun. I love to travel. You know, it's funny when I look back on the trips that I've had in my life, and so many of them that, I mean, I've been so blessed to go to some just really amazing places and stay at some really amazing places, and I do love all that. But at the same time, it's like some of my best trips that I've ever taken in my life have been when they're just like, you know, to like a cabin in Gatlinburg, Tennessee at Christmas time, which those cabins were gorgeous. But I remember the summer before I went into my sophomore year in high school, and I was so terrified of going into high school. And my mom and I and her sorority sister that she was friends with the whole time I was growing up, and her daughter and I, the 4 of us, I've talked about this on here before, we went to visit my mom's friend, Diane, who passed away 3 years before my mom did of cancer. She lived on Beaver Island for like the last 25, 30 years of her life. And so we went to go visit her on Beaver Island, and you drive from Indianapolis to Charlevoix, and then, or wherever to Charlevoix, and then you take the ferry over from Charlevoix to Beaver Island. There's like no road to Beaver Island. Like you have to take the ferry over. And I can remember really being like, having listened to a lot of my mom's music that summer. It was a very lonely summer for me, and I was by myself a lot. And I can remember just listening to a lot of like old music that my mom listened to, like Bob Dylan and, you know, Joan Baez and Judy Collins and Joni Mitchell. I don't know so much Joni Mitchell, but Fleetwood Mac, stuff like that. And I can remember the whole way over to the island, listening on my headphones. I had this yellow Walkman to Mr. Tambourine Man by Bob Dylan, and just thinking about school the whole time. I was so scared to go to school. And it was literally like, well, we went because Susie came either before that or after that. I can't remember. She came and her daughter had started, her daughter that was, because one of Susie's daughters is 7 days older than me. And so her daughter had came, and that's another trip that we need to take is Denver. We need to do Denver to go visit Susie. But, and we also, like, one of our good friends, our friend that we went to go visit in Dallas, Demi, he lives in Denver now. So we need to go to Denver so we can visit Susie and we can visit Demi. But, look at this one hair hanging down. What is that saying? So, I don't know. We either went like the beginning of August and then Susie came after, or vice versa. But Susie came to Indianapolis because I can remember talking to her daughter about being afraid to start high school, and she's like, "It's not that scary. You'll be fine," and blah blah blah, whatever. So, but that trip was so much fun, and I remember like, we were like in this house, like out in the middle of nowhere, and you like drove through these woods, and the island's real small, and then you just like came out on this corner, and we were kind of like in this corner, and there was like a tire swing, and it was this little itty bitty house, but it was so cute. It had like a bedroom in the back, and then it had like a bedroom in the front, and like a kitchen in the middle with like a little living room. And I can remember every day my mom's sorority sister friend, who I love and adore to this day, she would make us bagels, and she would toast them, and then she would put butter on them with cream cheese, wrap them in tinfoil. We went and stayed somewhere else too. Maybe that was that same trip, and we stayed, because we did stop somewhere. We stopped at a hotel on the way, because it was, I think it's like a 9-hour drive actually to Charlevoix. We stopped at a hotel on the way, and I remember her daughter and I went swimming in the like hotel pool, and then we like walked over and went to go eat at this restaurant next door. And I remember too that like the whole way up there, she drove like this Bronco, and she had the windows open, or the windows closed with like the, you know, all the way up with like the ashtray open, and she and my mom just like chain smoked the entire way up to Michigan. Do you guys remember that back in the day when people would just like chain smoke in their car, and they had like the ashtray that pulled out with like the push lighter and all that kind of stuff? Oh my God. And her daughter and I had gotten this tape called Is Elvis Alive? And we like listened to this tape on like the same headphones the whole way up there. And we were like trying to figure out the mystery of it. Is Elvis really still alive? I'll have to tell her that and see if she remembers that. It's so funny. And so we were like the whole time trying to figure, you know, like on the way up there, like we were taking notes and stuff, like trying to see if Elvis was still alive. But anyway, and because it was like this conspiracies and all this, where he had been spotted and all this stuff, so we were taking notes. We thought we were going to see Elvis on the way to Michigan. We didn't. Oh, the battery is dying. But anyway, I remember it was just so fun, and we like swam in Lake Michigan every day. I was just telling Tanya this the other day, because she's like, Lake Michigan is so cold in the summer. It is. Like, I remember going with my dad, you know, all the time to Saugatuck, Michigan, and it was like the water out in Lake Michigan was ice cold. But for some reason around the island of, like, around Beaver Island, it was really warm. I mean, maybe it was because we were in shallow water and we weren't that far out, but it was really warm, and there were sandbars and stuff, and it's just, that was such a fun trip. Oh my God, we had so much fun, and we played cards every night. I do remember this one thing. It's so funny though. My mom's friend worked at a hotel bar. Like, she worked at a hotel and then she worked at a bar or something, like part of her life. And there was like one bar on the island. It was called Jack's. So one night my mom was like, okay, I'm going to go out with Diane, and it's just going to be Diane and I, and you're going to stay at home with, you know, her friend that we had driven up there. Cause like my mom's friend Diane and her had been friends since high school. Like, they had known each other their whole life. And so they were going to have like, you know, just like a fun night out drinking and whatever. So, to pull in here and change the battery. I did not know that there was a UPS store there. I need to remember that for the future. I always drive to Fisher's, and that's silly, isn't it? Good thing I brought another battery, huh? Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So anyway, my mom went out, and I remember we played games or something that night. I can see us sitting there playing games, and my mom came home really late that night, and she wanted to go. This lip gloss is almost dead. This lip gloss is almost dead too. Which one's, this one's more dead? I don't remember this from that night, but I remember the next day it was a big deal. My mom had taken her contacts out, drunk, and laid them on the beach to put them back in after she got out from swimming. Listen to all these cars. That noise kind of scares me sometimes. So anyway, needless to say, she never found her contacts. Woo, that was not fun the next day. Why are all these like, that's a car. That's not a crotch rocket, that's a car. That was such a fun trip. And then I remember one night, Diane drove us all over to the other side of the island, and she said, come on, we're gonna go watch the sunset. And I can, you know, like when you're like in high school, you're like that age, and you're just like, we're gonna go see a sunset, like who cares? And I can remember as we were driving there, Diane drove down the middle of the road. Like it was like a 2-lane like gravel road, and we drove down the middle of the lane. And I remember I was like, Diane, why are you driving down the middle of the lane? And she was like, so we don't dust people. She was like, that's kind of like a rule we have on the island, you don't dust people with dust. And we saw all these people that were walking there, right? And I was like, what is going on? All these people are walking there. She was like, oh yeah, I was like, Diane, why is everybody walking? She's like, oh, they walk every night. Every night, people walk to see the sunset on the side of the island. And so we got to the other side of the island, and there were like all these people there that were just sitting there on the beach. Just sat and watched the sunset. They had their chairs out and, you know, wine coolers and whatever. And they just, probably glasses of wine and beer and whatever. And they just sat, Cokes, probably that too. And they just sat there and watched the sunset. And then everybody went away. Can you even imagine? Like, that is so crazy. I love it though. I think that's so cool, you know? I remember Diane came to visit us one time. She came with a friend of hers that lived on the island. And she stayed with us for like 10 days. And they would stay up late every night listening to music in our library and talking and talking and talking and staying up late and talking. And I can remember I would come down. I didn't like it. There was something about, I don't know, it made me nervous or something. I think maybe my mom was drinking a lot when she was here. And I remember because I would say something to my mom, and my mom would say, honey, you need to go to bed. I already put you to bed. This is adult time, you know, whatever. And I would put my pillow at the top of the stairs, and I would like just lay there and listen to them talk and stuff. And I can remember the next day, it was in the summer that she came to visit. The next day I would want to do something. Like I would want to go to like to the pool, or it was like, come on, you know, like when people came to visit us. My mom used to have a lot of people come visit in the summer, like friends, sorority sisters and their kids and stuff like that. And so we would always go do stuff. Like we would go shopping, or we would go to a museum, or so. I thought it was gonna be the same thing when Diane came. And I can remember one day, it was like 2 o'clock or something, and Diane and her like friend still were not up. And I was like, Mom, why does she sleep so late? I would have had to have been young when this happened. I must have been like 10 or 11. And I remember my mom was like, oh, Diane's always slept till 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Now I relate to Diane, but then I did not. And I thought that was so weird. And I remember we went to the video store, and we had just gotten, I must have been like, that was when we had our Betamax. So that must have been like, I was real young. Because I can remember we went to this one video store that had like the door that went into like the back room that was not family friendly and all that stuff, you know. And it wasn't like a family video. It was like this just like mom and pop shop. It was called like The Video Store or something. And I can still smell it. Like when you walked in there and you would just like, they would have the covers of the movies on the wall and you would pick it and take it to the counter. And I remember like Diane went crazy that there were all these movies that she had never seen and she wanted to see. There was all these like Peter Sellers movies that she wanted to see. And so I remember she like, we ended up taking a stack of probably like 10 movies out of that video store. And she and my mom watched every single one of them. She was so excited. All these movies of people that she had loved that she never watched. I remember when Diane passed away, and I've talked about this on here too, but I get it today. I don't know that I really got it then, you know? I mean, Tanya and I were still friends then, but something's really changed with Tanya and I in the last 5-10 years. We've gotten so much closer than we ever were before. We've really shared some things with each other, and we've really been there for each other, and we've lost a lot of friends in the last 5 or 10 years. You know, there was more of a group of us before that, and it's really just Tanya and I now. And so I get this sentiment and this statement that my mom made, but I remember when Diane passed away, and I went over to her house, and I walked inside, and my mom was just like sitting on the couch. She just like had this, like was holding like this cigarette. I was like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "No." Like I called her and she had told me that Diane passed away. And I was like, "Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry," you know, whatever. We talked about it for a little bit. And she's like, "Well, she didn't want to fight it this time." Diane had cancer and done chemo and went into remission. And then, like, 10 years later, the cancer came back. Or something like that. I don't know how much later. But anyway, and then the second time it came back, they found it much later. And she decided not to fight it. And I remember my mom was really upset about that. Like, she talked to her mom. Because by that point, Diane was, like, too sick. And she was like, "I don't understand why she won't fight it." Which is interesting because when my mom got sick and we didn't know what it was, I asked her, I said, why aren't you fighting this? And she said, if I knew what it was, I could fight it, but I don't know what it is. Because we didn't know until later, you know. So, but I remember I came in and I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "No, I'm not." And I said, "Well, what's going on, or what are you thinking," or something like that. And she said, "Who now will know my soul?" She said, "You know, Diane was the only one that really knew me, that really knew me at my core, that really knew my soul. Who now will know my soul?" And I think it's a blessing and a curse, you know, when you have like one person in your life that like knows. Like, that's one of the reasons why I got my new sponsor was a couple years ago, was because I had never really had this relationship with a sponsor. I mean, I had great sponsors, don't get me wrong, but I never really had the relationship with my sponsor that I do now, first of all, but that like all of my female friends and all of my male friends had with their sponsors, because there just was some divide. I had always, as a gay man, had male heterosexual sponsors because that's what I was taught to do. And there was just some kind of disconnect there always. You know, they were just like, I don't know, like we just really were never friends. We were friendly, but we were never friends. And even though they were great guys, you know, but I mean, we were friends, but we just didn't hang out and do stuff together. And, so, you know, I really think I put a lot on Tanya because I didn't have that through the years. And that was one of the reasons why I needed to have a sponsor that I could have the relationship with that I have today, so that Tanya and I could be friends and still talk about deep stuff, right? But like, it wouldn't be like I was leaning on her, you know? Like, I didn't want to do that where I was just leaning on her all the time for stuff. Not like that's what you do when somebody's your friend, obviously, right? But at the same time, it's like, we need different people for different things in our lives, you know? So yeah, and Diane passed away 3 years before my mom did. I started talking about another one of my mom's friends. But anyway, my mom would always say that the winters were so bad on the island because nobody would come out there between like September, like the end of September and like March, because the ice was so bad or whatever, you know? So like they wouldn't, or maybe it was like every 2 to 3 weeks or once a month or something. I don't know. It's just like nobody would come out there, so it would just be like the people that lived on the island, and not the people that were like came there in the summer, but like just the people that lived on the island. And so it would be like, you know, the locals. The way that Diane got there was that her dad, who like when they were in high school, he bought the place on Beaver Island as like a lake house. And then like, cause Diane was like one of like 6 kids. And so all the kids would go up to, you know, the family would go up there in the summer. And then Diane's mom and dad got divorced. And her mom, I think like the only thing she asked for was the house on Beaver Island. She moved up there. And so she was there for like the rest of her life. And my mom loved her. She loved Diane's mom. It's interesting, you know, when you look back on your life, all of these people that are kind of like parts of a tapestry of your life, you know, they make up like who you are, and you don't even really know it at the time, you know. It's like all these friends of my mom's and my dad's and family friends that we had that were such a big part of my growing up and such a big part of stories of my life that I didn't even know it at the time, you know. Like I wasn't even aware at the time that they were going to be such a fundamental part of my life down the road when I looked back on it. I just kind of thought they were characters that were around, you know, friends of the family. And now I look back and think that so many of them formed me into who I am today, you know. I don't know. And really the only one that I ever stay in contact with anymore is Susie, which I need to call Susie. And I also need to listen to my audiobook. Did I say what I started? So I started this new book. It's called The Taking of Jake Livingston. It's a new young adult book that came out. It's getting like rave reviews. It's not bad. I'm just really not into it. It's just not really what I wanted to read right now. I should have probably read the Leanne Moriarty book, but I didn't. So, I'm reading this, and, I just realized today, talking to Mel, that I still haven't read the People We Meet on Vacation, which is Peter's book club for this month. And I also said I was going to listen to Beach Reads and The Silent Patient. So, unless I bust those out and finish them this week, well, I'm definitely going to finish People We Meet on Vacation, because I want to have those 2 books done. But I was going to read the other 2 books, The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, which is his first book, and Beach Reads, which is Emily Henry's book before People We Meet on Vacation. I was going to read those so that I had kind of read their canon of work. But unless I listen to them back to back this week, somebody is texting me. It's probably my husband saying he's coming home. Unless I listen to them back to back this week, it's probably not going to happen. But I started listening to this book because I got it because so many people were talking about this. What a great book it is. It's about this kid that goes to this private school. And he's like a medium. He can see dead people. And there was like a school shooting And then the kid that was like killed himself after. And then there's like a kid down the street that just got murdered. I'm so confused by what's going on. And it's just not super interesting. I don't love him as a character. I feel like the book's trying to achieve too many things at the same time. And so I'm just really not that into it. And it's real short, so I'm going to try to finish it. Hold on a second. Let me see what my husband is texting me. He's on his way home with our friends. This couple that we're friends with, he drove down there with tonight. They're driving him home. And he's with another friend too. They're dropping her off, and then he said he'd be home. I kind of thought he'd go get something to eat or something afterwards. Oh, man. So anyway, that's the taking of Jake Livingston, and I'm just not super interested in it. I mean, it's okay. It's just okay. So many people have been asking for the 3-hour vlog. When's it coming? Oh my God. If I did a 3-hour vlog, I don't even think most of you would listen to it. 3 hours is a long time to listen to a vlog. You know it is. My friend and I were gonna go thrift store shopping, my sober friend. She loves thrift store shopping and I do too. It's so funny because we just met a couple years ago. And like all the people that she hung out with back in the day are all the people that I hung out with back in the day, and how we never met is beyond me. And so we've been meaning to get together and go thrift store shopping and have lunch, and we haven't done it. And I'm like, we need to plan that. We need to go do that one day. Big plans. Always big plans. Anyway, I think I'm going to get off here now and listen to my audiobook for a little bit. Well, not for a little bit. I'm going to try to finish it. It's 3 o'clock already, though, and I've got like 2 hours. I think I just checked before I started vlogging. I've got like 2 hours and 10 or 12 minutes to listen to. So I could finish it tonight. Oh, I finished Legendary last night. I stayed up and when I got home and I finished Legendary. The series on HBO Max was so good. Loved the ending of it. Was so happy with who won. Thought it was very well deserved. And now I don't know what show I'm going to watch next. So I'm either going to watch Black Summer or Them. I've got to see how many episodes of Them I have left. I might go back and forth and do like one of each, you know, until I'm done with both series. But yeah, I just want to kind of enjoy some of these shows and stuff this summer. I'm having such a good time reading this summer, and this has just been my summer of kind of like watching and reading stuff, and I've been really loving it. So now I have, what, 6 weeks left of summer to get to the pool, I think, something like that. So I'm gonna, for me, I know the kids are going back to school in like a week, but not this one. Okay, summer's just getting started for this one. So anyway, look at that big fence they're building. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a magically amazing Sunday. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And do something today to rejuvenate yourself, renew yourself, and refresh yourself for the week ahead. And I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya! And for anybody that needs to hear it, for anyone that needs to hear it, one more I love you. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!